ago. And I'm excited to have you all here because today we have Walid from Finland, from Helsinki. By the way, he's currently in Laplandia, and he is joining us to speak about how to perfectly pitch. So you are startups from around the world, and please welcome Walid joining us from Finland. Hi, Walid. How are you? Good to see you.
Hi, Daniel. I'm great. Greetings from Lapland.
So tell a little bit about yourself, and we're excited to have you here. I chose you because you are a charismatic leader and you are an author of Pitching for Life. And before we start, just give us a few words about yourself. How did you become? How did you join this kind of sphere of work where you help people with speech, and why it is inspiring you?
All right. Uh, well, the honest answer is that it all happened by mistake. I was I was designing entrepreneurship programs for governments and companies, working as a program manager in executive education setting. And one day I didn't have a professor who canceled because of health reasons, and I had 6 hours to fill. But I have been involved with startups. And I'm half Lebanese, half Ukrainian. We actually do talking. We talk for breakfast. We like talking is our thing. But pitching is kind of a skill that everybody should have. And I decided that because I had like very short time to prepare, and I know a lot about pitching back then, but because I was doing it, but not as a coach, so I decided to give executives a taste of the startup world. When I decided to organize a pitching workshop for them, like kind of do what other pitching coaches did to coach me, and they loved it. So that feeling of helping someone learn about a really important skill was super. Uh, it kind of took me over. I mean, like you have this amazing satisfaction, and 5 years later, I am one of those coaches who have written a book and been coaching in 30 countries, and I just put so much effort into it. Like coaching is not my biggest dream. My biggest dream is to have my own. But because it's true, but because I actually helped a lot of people, like thousands and thousands, at least have the confidence to present anything to anyone. So it kind of stayed with me for long now, and I would love to share it with our audience today, and at least give 1% confidence today for them to present in any setting. So this is what I'll be talking about. So from just a summary from something that I've been doing so far now in my life.
This is how usually some entrepreneurs start their own business, just because it's either by mistake or for fun, or just they did it for themselves. Before we start, I just wanted to say everyone that Walid is on the road, and sometimes connection is not perfect. So please stay with us. We are doing our best with the connection, and it's not always perfect, and it's fine. It's the best people around the world always travel, and it's another opportunity for us to have people like Walid. Before we, Walid, tell us about pitching with confidence. I know you have some slides. You prepared some awesome design slides, and we look forward to have some conversation.
All right. So Daniel, thank you. Is the floor mine now? Can you see my slides?
1 second. Yes, we now can see your slides.
All right. So hello everyone. My name is Walid. If you want to address me formally, it's Mr. Cheikh. And if you're my friend, you would say Willy, like Willy Wonka or Free Willy. So this is my name. Like if you're my friend, just call me Willy, and Walid is my first name. So my topic is pitching with confidence. The most important thing in order to understand or do something well, you need to kind of understand what you're doing. So usually when I start talking about, get about 20, 30 different answers, which most of them are one outcome or one result of pitching. For example, pitching is this short present, ask something. So if you start by having this definition that you present and then you ask, it's a pitch. And then, for example, you can have a pitch that is 30 seconds. You can have a pitch that is 1 hour. There are some rules and there are some techniques to do it well, especially in today's world where people are busy. And startup pitching is only one way of doing it. So if you take this presentation with an ask as a base, into the alphabets, like you have a picture or you point something and you want that, or technically you as a human being, you have been pitching since the first day you were born. When you're born, you start crying for attention or for food from your parents or safety, whatever. So we have been pitching the first day of our lives, but then we get to a place where it becomes this new something that like a superpower that I want to share with people, or at least today my motivation is to give you just 1% more confidence about the topic to help you understand the macro level, what is pitching, and give you some tips and maybe some advice. So during the Q&A, you can ask me any question, and I'm happy to tell you more. But the rule number one when it comes to doing anything with confidence is that you need to practice it. Most people that pitching is like a weapon that you need to use in order to get, that you need to use, let's say, in a war situation. But I don't like that metaphor. I don't think pitching is a weapon. I think pitching is more like a toothbrush that you use every day in a particular situation, like a toothbrush you use for cleaning your teeth. But pitching is something you have to do to get to ask, to present something and ask and get the outcome that you want to have. If we start with that, then confidence. It was supposed to be released in June, but I was having too much fun this summer, and I needed this time off to actually get. Pillars of pitching are clarity, simplicity, specificity, and differentiation. So if you want to get the outcome that you really want to get, you want to communicate clearly. You want people to listen to you, like basically simplify as much as possible so they will actually listen. You want to specify because you want them to understand the context. You don't want them to assume. And you want to show how different, or being different is kind of a cliche in the startup world, but it's actually important when it comes to, for example, when you ask for funding from one investor and he would be like, why should I choose your startup versus another startup? So that's where you need to be different. So those 4 pillars are really important. So most of the mistakes or most of the unfavorable outcomes come from these pillars. Like either the concept is not clear enough, or people didn't understand what you're doing, or you weren't specific enough, or you weren't memorable or different, unique. So this is like a small game I do when I do a workshop. I ask people, how many balls do you see? And as you see now, there's 10 balls. It takes some time for us to count them. And then with 7 balls, it takes a little bit less time. And then with 5 balls, kind of you're clarifying, organizing your thoughts. And then when it's organized like this, it's instant. And when it comes to communication, like pitching is a strategic way of communicating. So it's up to you as a presenter to organize your thoughts so the listener will not fall out. So for example, when you're communicating in a way that the listener needs to have a couple of seconds to understand what you're saying, like in this picture here, it takes more brain power, it takes more effort for them to follow your thoughts. So usually clarity will be affected. Or then if it's not specific enough or it's not different enough, it becomes kind of, this is boring, this is not interesting. So this is just a small example. Like imagine that you're talking to someone in a real time and you have so many ideas that you're communicating. You want them to follow you like in real time, step by step, and also kind of have this feeling that they're enjoying the talk or at least understanding. So these four pillars are really, really important. And basically, why do we ask? We ask because um there's something we want to get. Like we want we want an investor to invest, or we want a customer to buy, or we want a partner to partner with us. And you're basically you have a message that you're delivering to people. Like here's let's say a phone, here's a laptop, here is a hat, here's a startup, here's my way of uh, here's my vision of love. So for me, pitching it can be applied to anything in life, in business or social situations. You can, when you ask someone to marry you, that's a pitch. You know that when you ask someone to go with you to a bar, and you're presenting, and then there's some arguments, and then you're asking something. That's a pitch. So there's always a message. Let's say here's a pen, and there's always some arguments. This pen lasts for 10 years, or you can change it, or it has four colors, or it's it's cheaper than the other pens, or it's €1, but the value of it is great. You can buy it from any store that is near you. Those are arguments. But then you're asking them, let's say, to buy it or give you feedback or invest in this pen company. And what usually happens is that people don't pay attention to the arguments and the connection between arguments and the ask, because the message is the same. Here's a pen. But if you want someone to buy the pen, it's different than you want someone to invest in it or give you feedback. So the arguments are changing. So the first tip I can give you now is that whenever you're building a pitch, think about what you're asking and what is the message, and connect the arguments to the ask. So if you have the right arguments to the ask and about the message, then it's the first thing that you're doing right. Why do we exist, or why do we pitch? Yeah, so why do we exist, or why? It's a tool that you can use to create any pitch you want. I usually start with the audience who I'm pitching to. What do I want to ask from them, and what is the substance that I'm pitching to them? The why is a bit philosophical. I'll give you an example like now. I'm pitching to investors. I want them to invest in my pen company. So the ask is invest €1 million, and I'm pitching my pen company. So if I get investment, the why becomes kind of if someone invests the 1 million, then my company might grow. So the why is a bit philosophical like that. Here's my future girlfriend. I want her to marry me or move in with me, and I'm pitching the idea of moving together or being married. Here's my friend. I want the friend to go to a bar. I'm pitching the idea of fun night out in a bar. Here's a pen. I want someone to buy the pen. The substance is the pen. Here's a customer. I want someone to give me feedback about the pen, and here's like the pen. So it's a really useful tool. You can use it everywhere, and it's actually the base of my book, Pitching for Life, because I created about 50 different cases there and just explained them quickly there. So now it becomes a bit difficult when you start thinking about how do I maximize a pitch. Let's assume that you have a 1 minute pitch. You can say up to 160 words there if you're talking fast. And if, let's say, 100 of these words are noise, like words that are not helping you to communicate the message or give enough argument. So this is tip number 2. In order to convince someone, which is the main purpose of the pitch, we're asking to convince someone. You want to have quantity and quality of arguments. So in a 1 minute pitch, I would want to see at least 5 to 10 arguments to be convinced about something. And in an 8 second pitch, you have 21 words that you can use. So what would be those words that you can use to actually communicate the value of what you're doing? So anything that is not helping your pitch from the argumentation perspective or delivering the message and asking is considered noise. Or if you can say something in 5 words, but you end up saying it in 12 words, the extra 7 words there is noise. And noise is really bad because it might distract the audience. It might be harder for you to repeat if you're pitching 1,000,000 times, which means you have 7,000,000 words that you're repeating and they are not doing any impact to you. And you might burn out, for example, if you do it wrongly, and you might get discouraged. So there's a lot of things I'm trying to communicate here, that the content has to be maximized in a way that you use the least amount of words, but delivering the points that you're trying to deliver. And usually you have about 20, 30 different points in a 2-3 minute pitch. So this is kind of an example of a startup pitch. So it's good to understand that content is important, and in every content there is emotional and technical terminology. You want to balance those in your pitch, because people connect with emotions, and they need the technical terminology to understand, and you need it to clarify. So it actually links, clarify and specify. It links to the pillars that I mentioned in the beginning. And when you're delivering a pitch, it's always about your audience. There's an element of time, how long you speak, timing, when do you do it, tone, how do you do it? Like, do you speak fast? Do you speak loud? Do you, anything that has kind of, really what stops us from pitching is our mind, the content, and delivery. And usually, when I see other coaches are coaching, they focus mostly on delivery, and the content is kind of, it's really important to understand that content cannot, if the content is not ideal, I mean, like if you didn't find the right content for your pitch, it's really hard to improve the delivery, because then you're actually communicating something in a way that you try to make it better by performing, but then the content is not good enough. And usually what happens, from like the 90% of the cases that I've seen, it's always the mindset first. People are afraid, they're shy, they don't take pitching seriously, they don't put enough effort into it. So the mindset, to me as a coach, is the most important thing. That's what I start with. If the mindset is not there, if you don't think that pitching is important, that it's an opportunity, you don't have to do perfect pitch today, but you can work for it, you can work to improve. And most importantly, that you put the effort. So like Deadpool says, like maximum effort. That's what people connect the most when you're pitching. If they see you sweating, if they see that you're actually taking it seriously, it's more important than having kind of this perfectly delivered pitch in a way that you, in my opinion, when you're genuine and doing your best in that particular situation, it's kind of, it makes me feel like, hey, this person actually is serious. So mindset first. Once the mindset is there, you work on the content. And the content is the hardest thing to build, by the way, because you need to find the right words for the right case. And this is what I actually specialize in when I coach. When I see that someone has the mindset, the content, we work on it together. And it doesn't have to be like, the delivery doesn't have to be like you're a rock star presenter. Once you have a good content and the right mindset, the delivery becomes the easiest thing to work on. But the rule is like this, that if you don't put enough effort in building the content, which takes time, you cannot jump to the delivery, because you would look this genuine, and you can be kind of, it's kind of a shortcut that doesn't lead to the right results. So my advice is work on the mindset. Like, don't be afraid to do it, take it seriously, build the content, and then the delivery will come. This is a promise, a professional promise. The worst thing when it comes to pitching is not to pitch. So if you want to get a job, you don't apply for it. If you want to win the lottery, you don't buy the ticket. If you want to raise funding, but you don't go out there and look for it. If you want customers, but you don't, tell people about what you're doing and ask them to buy. So aiming for perfection is the second worst thing, and not to maximize your pitch, which means that you don't show the value from your presentation. The most important and the easiest thing to do when you're presenting is to show the value, to receive value. So if you're selling a pen, tell me why this pen is important. If you want someone to marry you, why this person should marry you and not marry someone else. If you want someone to invest in you, why should they invest and risk their money in your company, where is the value for them? People forget that. Like you need to show them the value for them in your presentation. And most people, they complicate their presentations, and they always end up in a situation that they look disgenuine. It's so easy to show the value. Like, hey, I have this hat, it looks cool, or I have this hat, it keeps you warm, or I have this hat, it looks cool and keeps you warm. It's so easy to communicate in this way. So the biggest mistakes when it comes to pitching is having the wrong logic. So you want to have logic forward. I mean, more logic in your pitch, meaning that if you have an investor pitch, you know that it's an investor pitch. You need to show profitability. If you have a pitch where you want someone to buy your products, it's a sales pitch. So your logic for selling is, hey, I want to show the value for the customer in a way that if they buy this something, that it's good for them. Then the noise is down. I already talked about it. Noise is like cancer for pitching. If you start talking too much about something and it becomes confusing, or if you end up talking too much and it burns you out, that's not the point of pitching. Pitching should be done with joy. Like, you build the content and then you do it with pride and joy and you enjoy it. And then the last mistake that people have is that their arguments are not focused. They're like, okay, I understand this is the investor pitch and I want funding, so I need to show profitability, but then the arguments are about, they're not supporting this logic, or the arguments are up and down and it's really hard to follow them. Or the person who's listening to you has to dig for information. So the biggest mistakes, they actually happen here. Like, you start wrong, you make it harder to understand, or then you actually miss the whole point by giving the arguments in a way that is not focused. So your challenge as a presenter with your audience is to grab attention, because people's attention is very short nowadays. We have social media, we have all these distractions, let's call them. And people's short, like you have TikTok, which is about 15 seconds, but people switch within the 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. YouTube, the ads, you can skip after 5 seconds. Instagram, like Samsung, has been doing 7-second ads. So because they know what they're doing, it's not random. Pitching is a strategic way of communicating. You have the message, the arguments, and then you have the ask. So if you grab someone's attention, the next step, they get motivated or interested in what you're doing. So once they get interested, the last challenge for you is to actually eliminate doubt. And this is the one thing that a lot of people forget. Like, I like this, let's say, toothbrush, the new technology, but hey, I doubt if it works. Or I like this hat, but I doubt if it fits me. I like this guy, or girl, but I doubt if she's the right one for me forever to marry. So the doubt is really important to soothe. So I think you get more results when you communicate or pitch in a way that you grab attention, you get someone interested, but then also they are not doubting. I work with clients. I think I work mostly on the doubts. Like we write down lists of things like, what could they doubt about this? How can we make it easy for them not to doubt, or not to, what could stop them from buying or investing, or whatever it is that we're asking. So, and that's why it's in red, because it's the hardest thing to do. Like, you can make people listen to you. You can get people interested in something, but the second they need to commit or buy or invest or whatever they need to do. As a summary now, pitching is informative first. You give me information, you deliver a message, argument, and ask. You want to be memorable. Memorable, like you being different, or also being memorable is also kind of, you help people hear you, but also make it interesting in a way that it's not a cheesy or cliche, but like interesting on a human level, shortly. It's your job as a presenter to influence the audience. This is obvious. Important thing for you is to build trust in a human level. You want to persuade if you want people to think like, that's right, that's the product for me, or that's the company to invest for me, or that's the husband for me, or that's the bar experience today for me, they need to trust it on human level. And whatever the pitch is, you want your argumentation to be multi-layered. People forget that, and I already mentioned this, like quantity and quality in argumentation. So you talk a little bit about the product or the concept. You mentioned the business model, the team, the traction, the app. I've discussed this a lot in my book, Pitching for Life, but I will give you an example. Like uh, when you have arguments about the concept or product, it's basically you're describing the product. The business model part is the summary of the 4 P's: people, price, place, promotion. So people, who is it for? Price, how much does it cost? How much does it cost to make, or how much does it cost for the customer, or both? Where can I get it? And then where can I find it? For example, and then the team who's made it, who's like developing it, who's behind it. Traction is what has been done before. Milestones and ask. You can also argument on the ask. Like, if you give me feedback, it would help me a lot. Or if you invest in my company, it will mean the world to me, and we could grow. So you can argument on many layers. So what I'm trying to say here is that avoid the argumentation that is one layered. Like, you just describe the product or the concept, or you just talk about the money part. Like, hey, here's a pen, it's so cheap. Saying here's a pen and it's so cheap, it might be effective, but it's not maximized. You can say here's a pen and it's €1 and it's made out of plastic, and or not plastic, because we're a sustainable pen company, and the people who are behind it are people who care about the environment. We have sold 1 million pens. That's the traction. So once you kind of expand a bit the argumentation, it becomes more on a psychological level. You start eliminating doubt in the eye of the listener. You can present concept or a product in 2 different ways: vision, concept, uniqueness, and product, solution, benefit. In the startup world, know this format: problem, solution, benefit. But think about Martin Luther King. He didn't say like, hey, I have a problem in US and I want to fix it. He said, I have a dream. So he's describing a vision. I have a dream of equality. That's basically what his speech is about. So there are different ways to present a concept or a product: problem, solution, benefit, or vision, concept, uniqueness. And you use these tools or these ways in the way that suits you most, depending on the situation. So it's a case by case. But if, for example, you start your presentation like, hey, I have a vision of a pen that is made entirely out of wood, and it would eliminate, let's say, X amount of ton of plastic, and it could be in every home or in every school that cares about the environment. And then you describe the pen, and then you tell how unique is this pen, and it works more to kind of grab someone's attention or get them interested, and make them not doubt it. Then I would use this format versus the problem, solution, benefit. So these are just tips to kind of be open. Like, don't use one particular tool, but there are so many tools and templates that you can use. I'm going to show you a couple now after I stop sharing the presentation. And I told you already about the business model part, like people, price, place, promotion. Or if you're working on a startup, you can use the business model canvas there. You can talk a little bit about the elements there, but it always depends on what is the content of your pitch. How much can you talk about, let's say, the different parts of your pitch, and also what is your audience? And always start with the ask, and also remember the 4 pillars of pitching that I mentioned in the beginning. And like I said in the beginning, to get anything to do, like if you want to do anything with confidence, it's always about practice.
All right. So thank you so much, Walid.
So there are already questions I see in the.
So they say, how do I show value if I'm nervous? I mean, it's kind of common, right, for many people. Like, what would you advise?
And but I like this question. How do I show value if I'm nervous? Like I said, if you're nervous, it means that you're telling your mind that you're nervous. So you're already starting on the wrong mindset. There's a nice video from Simon Sinek where he's saying that nervous and excited has the same stimulus in your body. So athletes tell themselves that we're excited for whatever we're doing my best and I present and show value because showing the value is very easy. You just say like, hey, I have something and it's good. The second point here is that people think that they need to be perfect to show the value. You don't need to be perfect to show the value. You can be just you and just communicate whatever you have in whatever ability you know now. But if you know that, hey, your nerves are against you, it means that you need to work on your mindset. So I worked with clients who had traumas from had musicians and politicians or whatever people who startups who are afraid to present in front of people. And I can tell you that once they understand that, hey, I need to work on my mind value if I'm nervous, you just do it best and you just tell as simply as possible, like, hey, I have something and it's good because, or it's useful because, or it's beneficial because. What do I do if the audience challenges me with a difficult question? You There are ways to prepare for difficult questions. You can anticipate them, and questions come from different layers, like the argumentation part. Like if they can come about the product or the concept, they can come about the business model, they can be about the team, the traction, the ask. I'll give you an example. Like, why is this product good enough? It's a question about concept or product, and why should we believe you? Kind of something related to traction. So I like I like questions. So you as a presenter, you need to understand that there are different types of questions. The what questions are basically if someone asks you a question that starts with what, they want more information. If they ask you questions with how, it means that they are doubting something, meaning that they understood the point. They don't need maybe more information, but they need better arguments. They're challenging you. The why questions are more like they're challenging you because they have more doubt than kind of security in what you're doing. So as a summary, if someone asks you a difficult question and you don't know the answer, it's okay to say that you don't know. Always stay calm and humble, because when someone asks you a question, it means that they are interested a little bit, because silence is worse than asking a question. If someone doesn't ask anything, that's worse. Always give the person who asks you a question credit, like thank them, be calm, and be honest. I mean, if you know the answer, just say, like, we have thought about it, but we didn't have it in this presentation. We have not thought about it, but thank you for bringing it up. It means a lot, or the world to us, that you brought it up, because that could be a deal breaker for us. Or like, just always stay humble and thankful for someone who asks your questions, and be honest. How many slides do you recommend to have in a pitch deck, and what structure? This is a question that every time I'm asked. So I recommend that you have a pitch that has arguments on several layers, like I mentioned, like something about the product, something about business model, something about team, something about traction, something about the ask. So if you take this into consideration, the minimum amount of slides is 7. I've seen startups pitching with 7 slides and they are successful. They raise funding. And I've seen startups who have 50 slides. They have, let's say, 12, 15 slides for the main presentation, and they have appendixes. So it's up to you to decide. The structure can be something you decide as well, but it depends on the case. If you are, let's say, in a particular industry that requires, let's say, a demo, it could be you can show videos that describe the product, or if you're in a particular situation that needs more financial numbers, or you need more, or you need, for example, to show the competition in detail or describe the product or the problem or whatever. So there are a million different structures for pitch decks, and it's up to you as a presenter to know which one. Ask your questions, guys. Willie is happy to help. Yes, I am happy to help. Um,
That was from me, actually. Guys, we still have a few minutes more, and if you have more questions, we are happy to answer those questions. I personally got into pitching, not really, not instantly. Um, yeah, I was really nervous pitching, and I had a situation where I had a training that I was running for 3 days, and I had to present the results. Actually, my team had to present the results, and all of a sudden, management was so angry already that we are late with the information to present, and they said like now is the time to present, and we have all the management from other countries coming, like the full room of people, and there was only me who was left with the presentation, and I haven't seen the slides. It was 50 slides of all kinds of information with numbers, and I had to present it now. I was super nervous. After doing this, I I'm not afraid of pitching anywhere anything, just because that one went successful. But that was my most horrible moment at pitching. So, what would you recommend when you have no time to prepare? You are nervous, and you haven't seen the slides like I had.
all right, this is a very unusual situation. I don't see, for example, Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant going to a game without practicing, you know? So if usually what happens when it comes to pitching is that you're taking off guard or something unexpected happened, let's say you have a health problem or someone in your family has a health problem and you're super nervous about that. But the fundamentals when it comes to pitching is to actually prepare your content, get your confidence by practicing it as many times as possible. Like I even when I build my pitch for the first time, I go out there and I start pitching it to people. I perfect it first with people before I go to the real deal. You know, I prepare it alone and pitching it to other people. So I don't leave it to chance. You know, you cannot leave it to chance. If you leave it to chance, then you're actually, it's something that I really question. Like if someone has a dream and or they have a big company to create or they have something that they really want in their life, but they don't put enough effort to communicate it or practicing how to communicate that thing. I doubt, I actually doubt if they will ever succeed, you know? So, like I said, pitching is not difficult. Everybody knows how to ride a bike. Everybody should actually learn how to pitch because it's something even easier than riding a bike, in my opinion. It's just you need to put effort. You know, nobody was born knowing math by heart. You practice. You go to school. You know, so pitching is a strategic way of communicating. You need to put effort every time to create a pitch. But once you've done it well, you will get the confidence to actually do it. Like I think I've had really difficult examples with people who they had real traumas and they couldn't actually talk in front of people. And after a few sessions, they were like, Willie, you kind of saved us. Now I believe I can do it. And they cry, but it's it's kind of that's what I said. Mindset first. You want to do it, you take it seriously, you work on it, and if anything happens along the way, you have to have this humility to forgive yourself. Like I am human. This time I made a mistake. I didn't prepare, or I didn't do it well. I didn't have the energy to do it. And you ask me, what do you do if all these things are happening? They're unusual. It's okay not to pitch. It's the worst thing, but sometimes it's okay not to pitch. It's better not to risk it because you will do it badly than to do it. But it's a very rare situation. Usually you pitch, you do your best, but if For example, I have this one story from Slush where I felt like I was a little bit drunk, and I was like, if I'm gonna start pitching to this person, and I know he's important, I might not do it. So I didn't pitch, and I lost that opportunity. But it was better for me than to lose my reputation in front of his eyes. So I made a conscious decision not to do it, and I don't regret it. So sometimes it's okay not to pitch, but it's in most cases you do your best, and you work against all odds by practicing at least having 1% confidence that, hey, if I do pitch now, they will understand what's the value behind this. What is the main message? What are the main arguments? What am I asking? Those three elements should be there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's actually a great advice. If you have a chance not to pitch when you are not prepared, it's a good advice. In my specific case, I didn't have that chance. I had to present, and my career was at stake. And what happened? I just convinced myself that this is only myself who was afraid to pitch and who is nervous, but it's inside of me. Outside, people don't know unless I tell. And so, in fact, my face was okay, but just inside emotionally, I was horrified. And with understanding that, accepting it, I was okay to be horrified, but I finished entire presentation and people applauded me. And I realized that it works. So that was my happened. You have another question.
yeah, I think I will comment on your situation. I see that a lot when I coach in the workshops, that you put people in uncomfortable situations and they perform better than they thought. Like cold, like let's say, like you take them off guard. But if they would be doing it by themselves, they would never do it. So sometimes this push to do anything in life, in your case, you had to pitch. That's actually healthy. It's not against you. But a lot of people don't put themselves in this situation. They will never know what they're capable of. So, and this is something I am super passionate about. I mean, don't be afraid to put yourself in uncomfortable situations when it comes to pitching, but prepare as much as you can before you do that. Then you will. So the question from Alexei: what do I need to give the audience to sell my product beautifully in the presentation? So this is actually a sales pitch, and when you're selling a product or a service to someone, to me, it's always about the client, like what they want, what they need. So imagine if you're buying, like I was buying a phone. This is OnePlus 8T. I did an extensive research on phones, and I'm really bad with technology. But I had in my mind one thing, because my previous phone had a shitty battery. This phone has the best battery. So in 20 minutes or half an hour, it's fully charged, and it lasts me a full day with like super heavy duty. So that was my preference. So I was, what I'm trying to say here is that clients, they look for things. They want what they want. So in your presentation, you need to understand what clients want from your product or service, and you need to communicate that. What is the value for them? And try to do it in a way that it's super easy to find that information, or super easy for them to listen to it and understand it or hear it. So if it's on the website, I would put it, I would put the main things, like people care about some features, not all features. They care about maybe price or quality or both. So you're using the word beautifully. For me, the word beautiful, a beautiful presentation about a product is when I find the information fast, when I understand it, when I trust it. So I don't know if this answers your question, but like I see a lot of ads as a hobby on Instagram or YouTube, and the biggest thing that I have there is that I like this product, but I don't trust it works, because I have been fooled once that I bought the wrong product. I trusted one time that this product would work and it didn't work, so my level of doubt is super high. So if you want to present something to somebody, and you want them to buy it. Like I said in my presentation, you want to eliminate doubt in the most efficient way possible. So I would write down what could they doubt about it and communicate all those things in reverse, like soothe their doubt. Like a baby crying, you soothe their doubt about the product that you're trying to sell. And if they understand it and it's the right product for them and they get it fast, I don't see why not they wouldn't buy it. What is the most important, a strong business model or beauty of the presentation and good team or your variant? Uh, I think investors care about business models because if there's a strong business model, there's something about profitability. A beautiful presentation doesn't mean shit to me. Sorry for the language. A good team is a gem. If you have a good team and they can deliver something with value, it's great. But I don't care if the presentation is beautiful or not. I care if the presentation is understood. I I get all the information I need in the way that I listen. And I don't know what is a beautiful presentation. I mean, what is beautiful for me is beautiful for other people. So maybe your question is like, should the product be helpful? Yes. Should the product have a great business model for investors? Yes, if you're raising funding. A business model for a client is basically, can they afford it? Can they find it? You know? So this is a very difficult question to answer in more depth. How to
Yeah,
pitch in
I
Zoom?
will just add a few cents here. It's okay to have a let's say shady looking presentation, but if your business model and your solution is validated with the customer and they are willing to pay for this and you have revenue from it, this is what will convince your investor more than the nice looking slides. And of course, if you are speaking with the customer, it's sexy presentation maybe it gives some effect, but your value proposition is the strongest thing that can affect the decision of your customer. Correct me if I'm wrong, Willie, but this is
No, no, I agree with you. I agree with you, but also kind of it depends who you're presenting to. I mean, like if you're in the fashion industry and you have very ugly sketches and it's you're trying to sell like a beautiful dress, of course you need to have visuals, but that's not what I mean by beautiful presentation. Like I went to extreme to think if someone is presenting something that has no value but they're presenting it well, that's how where I went, you know. And of course a business model is really important to have, where you have the value proposition and when you have, and it depends who you're presenting it to. But yeah, I mean, you you want to kind of simplify things. Like if you're presenting a product, think about what is the best way to present that product so people will understand what is the benefit out of this product or a service. How does it work? How can I get it fast? How can I there's a million examples here, case by case. But from all these three, I think what I want you to understand that pitching is informative. You want to give me information that has a logic. Like if you want me to buy something, you show to me like I showed you with the phone. Like I want what I want in a product or a service. If I don't get it, I don't see the value for me spending money on it. That's the main point here. And I don't care who made this phone. So the team here doesn't make any sense to me. I don't care if it's Steve Jobs or not Steve Jobs, you know? So maybe in this case with this phone, the business model is not as strong as the quality of the product, but the business model can be important for me to understand like where can I get it? What is the price? Can I get it cheaper than the other products as a customer? So a lot of elements come together when you're presenting something in a business context. How to pitch in Zoom to clients in the US if I have a hard accent. This is a mindset thing. You think that your accent is against you. Just communicate in a way that they understand. If you have a hard accent, don't talk too fast. Talk slower. That's the best thing. That's the best tip I can give you. Take pauses. Help them understand your English in the best way you can. So in this case, you're probably not communicating 160 words in a minute. You're communicating, let's say, 100 words in a minute. So you want to really pay attention to the content that it has, um, the 20, 30 whatever arguments that you need to deliver, the main points that you want to deliver in a way that it's clear, simple to understand, specific, and it has some uniqueness. Uniqueness means it depends on the case by case, but like if you're trying to sell, let's say, a phone, like I want to know how long does the battery last. So here the unique thing with this 1T is that the battery lasts, but also it charges fast. So it has double uniqueness for me, and I remember this because this is what I'm looking for.
Walid, thank you so much for your time. It was exciting. Let's close this session.
I think my biggest and warmest wish for all of you is to have pitching for life as a mindset, that we need to pitch for life, because otherwise we're living in times where people are super competitive. Like there's always someone who's gonna do it better and communicate it even more better. So don't lose on pitching. Make pitching something that will work for you, not against you. Embrace it. I mean, that embrace it warmly. That's my message. Thank you for having me. Greetings
Thank
from
you.
Lapland. My first time in Rovaniemi.
Awesome. That was really author for Pitching for Life, and we were speaking how to pitch perfectly. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great the rest of the day.